Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke.
So Mickey Rourke was in Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 was terrible.
Yeah, it was not a good film.
3 wasn't any better. Wasn't 3 the one with...
3 was the PTSD one. One where I don't know who the villain was.
Was it the Mandalorian? Is that 3?
Not the Mandalorian, no.
No, the whatever.
The Manchurian Candidate. I don't know.
Yeah,
the guy that was Ben Kingsley was the was
that
supposed
3?
to be. That was 3, yeah.
Nerdy, unqualified, and probably indistinguishable from rambling. Welcome to the A&D Show.
Hello, and welcome to the A&D Show. I'm David.
I'm Austin.
And we're back. Welcome to season 3. This is...
Is it 3? Are we on 3?
I think we're on 3. I think it's officially 3 now.
Two years of garbage.
Yeah, 2 years of garbage, like a year and a half hiatus, and we're back. We're older, we're seasoned, we're more, exposed to life.
You're married.
I'm married now. A lot has happened in the last year and a half. I got married. I have dogs. I have a home. You see all this behind me. This is my new set, and it is definitely not my own creation. My wife is to thank for all the fancy macrame and wicker shelves and plants and things, so you can thank her for that. But
this is my temporary set. This is my temporary set while we bought a new house, and it's got a little bit of a bat problem. So,
oh wow,
cool
that
stuff.
sounds fun.
It's neat. If you ever want to test the resolve of your marriage, find out you have bats and see how long you last.
Yeah, I'm sure. I will definitely not do that ever.
Smart.
So, it seems like the wise choice overall. Yeah. So we've got a couple of things we wanted to talk about. We're excited. It's a new year. 2020 is behind us, at least literally. The memory of it still lingers on in our hearts and minds. But we're just trudging on through. We're gonna do good. Austin, you have overcome Corona yourself personally, so praise the Lord for that. That's no small feat.
There were silver linings. Like I could play video games for 10 days. Mm-hmm. It was nice. I beat Star Wars Fallen Jedi. I beat Call of Duty Cold War, which is a trash game. I mean, graphically it's phenomenal, but it's such a short game. You have here's 6 missions. Good luck. So it kind of stunk, but
it's that short, really?
It was really short. It was real short. I beat it. I would say that I put probably 4 hours into it, maybe 5. It was just super short, and it wasn't like I was playing on easy. It was a bad game.
Well, that stinks.
Yeah, it does.
Seems like Star Wars has really been letting a lot of people down lately.
Well, Fallen Jedi is phenomenal.
The game?
Yeah. So
I guess there's nothing else named Fallen Jedi.
Yeah.
So
Call of Duty Cold War is trash. Fallen Jedi was phenomenal.
Well, hold on. Because I got to stop you right there. Because Call of Duty Cold War, I actually quite like in a lot of ways. Of course, this is diametrically opposed opinions. It's what it's been since day one. So
I like Ronald Reagan telling me to kill terrorists. I'm good with that. That's the best part. Kill them for the Gipper. Absolutely.
So here's the thing. I don't disagree with you. The campaign mode on that game was a little
very
bit
short.
weak.
Very short.
Very short. Very, very short. I think I beat the whole thing in less than just a few hours. Probably about the same time that you spent on that other Star Wars game. But I really like the gameplay. I really like the online multiplayer.
I don't play online enough, so that's probably where I'm lacking in the game. I don't play online.
I get on with my brother, and my wife actually plays online with us too from time to time. So we'll have to get you in and squad up sometime. That'll be fun.
I'm inappropriate in squads, but that's fine. Let's do it.
You know what? It's fine. I mean, when are you not inappropriate? All right. Well, here's the deal. So there's a lot of pop culture news that's been making the headlines recently. And I think the first and most important thing that we really need to talk about for this week's episode is Batman. Now, here's the thing. There is so much happening in the world of Batman right now. We've got there was the travesty that was Justice League in its original conception, and then lo and behold, what was it, mid to late last year, we had this announcement that Warner Brothers through HBO Max has brought on Zack Snyder to finish his version of Justice League. They've thrown $30 million at him for additional effects to finish out the movie. And the last report that I heard is that it's going to be either a 4-hour-long epic film or a four-part, 1-hour-long per series. And that it's just going to be basically what it was he had originally conceived.
From what I'd I think the latest news is that it's a 4 1-hour, which kind of stinks because I want to indulge myself for 4 hours of happiness because Zack Snyder is a phenomenal filmmaker. Yeah. I mean, you can't mince words on that. He's very, very good at what he does. And so when Whedon took over Justice League, I mean, he ruined the film. The film.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate Joss and what he's done in other franchises. But when you look at the track record that Zack had set and the trend and the style and the overall ambiance that he had built all the way back from Watchmen, I mean, that was one of the biggest and most grandiose, gritty sci-fi, comic book character features that was made at the time. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, it was a little rough around the edges, content-wise, but overall, I mean, the film, it was amazing. The visuals and everything, and they carried that trend through when they came into Man of Steel, when they did Batman v Superman. And, when Batman v Superman hits theaters, then you start to notice that there are some discrepancies between Zack and the studio, because the theatrical release, though it was a good film and it had a lot of good parts, it just seemed like a jumbled mess. And it wasn't until he was able to release his ultimate edition, the director's cut, so to speak, that it really took shape the way that it should have and led clearly into the Justice League, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, all those other films that it was proceeding.
And the problem is that when you watch Justice League, you're watching two different films because there were scenes that Snyder had already done that were staying in, and then he had Joss's version, and it was but Warner Brothers, they wanted this Marvel-esque feel where it was
bright,
campy,
colorful,
and bright, and that's not what DC needs to do. What DC does best, they set a trend whenever they did The Dark Knight. Before The Dark Knight, these superhero movies, it was like Spider-Man 1, 2, 3. It was all, they were campy. Think about Tobey Maguire dancing after he gets the Venom suit or whatever. He's dancing in the, because he's a bad symbiote or whatever.
It's the gift of all gifts.
Right, exactly. But it was a different world. And so Dark Knight comes out, and Dark Knight sets his precedent for, hey, you could have uber-realistic, gritty, dark films that are superhero, they're superhero based, that appeal to a very large audience. Because the thing with Dark Knight, it wasn't like you had Dr. Octopus with these magic arms or whatever, the Green Goblin or whatever. When it came to the Dark Knight and it came to Joker in particular, it felt like, I know it's a superhero movie, but like a guy could be like this. A guy could go this unhinged and go crazy. And so, you had this movie that was just totally different than anything that was already out there, and it was phenomenal. And then Marvel comes in, Marvel makes their movies, and I'm not going to dump on Marvel. I think that the Marvel movies are good in their own right. Most of them are pretty decent. But I've always, I don't think it's a mystery that I've always been a bigger fan of DC than I have been Marvel. I think just story wise, because I've always been a massive Batman fan, and I think that the characters in Batman that Bob Kane made are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so when you have Joss come in and Joss ruins what should have been a very good movie, it was a movie that I was super amped about. Yeah. And I watched Justice League more than once, and I wasn't as hard on it as critics were.
Sure.
But it wasn't a good movie.
Yeah, it just, from the perspective of somebody as a fan again, like you, as a fan of DC Comics, the thing that I always liked about DC Comics over Marvel was that DC, the original conception of it DC actually has an acronym. It stands for Detective Comics. And it was meant to be originally grounded more in reality, grounded in more of this kind of mystery and suspense. And it was meant to be grittier and darker. I mean, the original conception of Batman actually had him as a private detective, a gun-wielding private detective who, he just did his own thing, and he beat the criminals until they confessed, and then left them bloodied on the steps of Gotham PD. And so, for them to, and I think you're right. Whenever it comes down to it, whenever they kicked off with the Dark Knight trilogy, I mean, Christopher Nolan and his work, and that was phenomenal, and all the actors and all the production and everything that they put into that really made it just top of the wall. But I would even argue to say that it started, that trend of darker, grittier DC comic movies actually started even earlier by about a decade and a half back whenever the original Batman with Michael Keaton came out, with Tim Burton at the helm and Danny Elfman's soundtrack and these dark, gritty kind of, it just felt dirty, watching it, not in a perverse way, but just kind of felt like it been smeared with dirt, and I just loved it.
Correct, because if you look at Batman and Batman Returns, and then you look at Batman Forever and Batman and Robin,
when Joel Schumacher stepped in and took over, it just kind of went all glitz and glam, which if you know anything about Joel Schumacher, you kind of understand why. But the whole deal with Tim Burton, I mean, Tim Burton is who he is. Every film that he makes is very clearly a Tim Burton style. But that was one of the first comic book character movies that just was dark and gritty. And I think even when Christopher Nolan took the helm with Batman Begins and that entire trilogy, I think that he actually kind of leaned into that dark grittiness a little bit, might have taken even some inspiration from it when he kind of took that perspective of, all right, this needs to be a little bit more grounded in reality. This needs to be a little bit of a different take. I mean, up to that point, when was the first one? Was it 2008 for Batman Begins? Is that when that one came out?
About.
Yeah, somewhere in that era. And I think, if I recall, you know what? Let me do a quick boopity boop.
See, that was the big. That's what's always been my hang up with Warner Brothers, is that when something doesn't do well, they change direction 100%. So you had Batman Returns, which was not a huge success by any stretch of imagination, and they thought that it would be. So then Batman Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, those now come out, and they're going completely 180 on those.
And they kind of felt like they parodied the original 60s TV show, but then tried to merge the 80s Batman with the 60s Batman into this early 90s kind of monstrosity, and it just didn't work. Right, and then
we saw the same thing. But the same thing happened here, because you had Man of Steel, which wasn't a bad movie, but it was much better than Superman Returns.
For sure. I like Superman Returns, but I'm a garbage human. We all know that.
You are. But that's the thing. So what they wanted to do, but it didn't help having Marvel have this massive mainstream success. But you saw Iron Man 2, okay? That was the one that had, what's the face of the wrestler, wasn't it? Who was the bad guy, Iron Man 2? That bugged me. I can't remember his name. Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke. So Mickey Rourke was in Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 was terrible. Yeah,
it was not a good film.
3 wasn't any better. Wasn't 3 the one with...
3 was the PTSD one. One where I don't know who the villain was.
Was it the Mandalorian? Is that 3?
Not the Mandalorian, no.
No, the whatever.
The Manchurian Candidate. I don't know.
Yeah,
the guy that was a Ben Kingsley was supposed to be. That was 3. Yeah. Right.
So you had 2 stinkers in a row. Okay.
Yeah.
And they didn't change course. It's like, hey, we have a story to tell, and we're going to let our team tell the story that they want to. Now, Snyder's situation is different, because Snyder had a daughter that sadly and tragically committed suicide. So I understand why he can't be here. A responsible studio would have said, I don't care if we have to shelve this for a year. you take care of your family, and we'll be here waiting for you. Instead of saying, hey, we've got to push this thing out. Let's have somebody else do it who's not made, in my opinion, a great movie for years. Sure, Buffy was great, but that was what, the 90s?
Well, I mean, you have to look at Joss's reputation, because Joss is the kind of person who doesn't make great films. He makes films that are not well received, but that then are, in retrospect, well loved in a cult fashion. For example, the show Firefly was an entirely Joss Whedon concoction, and that show is fantastic. And the subsequent movie Serenity that came out to kind of finish the storyline, also wonderfully done, incredible world building, storytelling, great job. But and you can blame it on whatever you want, but the reality is that when that show aired, it was so poorly received that it was killed after the first episode. It was done. And the same with, Buffy was great, and Angel or whatever it was, they were all great. They were all Joss Whedon vehicles. But at the same time, you have to kind of look at them and were they as popular when they were airing as they are in culture now after the fact? That's a definite no. And so when you look at Joss's history, with the only exception that I can come up with, and I could be wrong, I haven't really done the research on this, but with the only exception to that rule being the first Avengers movie, that was the biggest blockbuster film that I can think of that has his name attached. That was instantly a hit. And so that's what Warner Brothers is doing. They're looking at it from the perspective of, we've got to get this guy who helmed this great movie in here to fix our film. They were thinking, unfortunately and mistakenly, they were thinking Joss Whedon is the reason this movie was good. And though Joss Whedon does have a lot of good credits to his name and is a good director and a good writer, that's not necessarily the case. And that was their mistake. Instead of looking at, Kevin Feige as being like the brain of Marvel, and he was the one that's putting all this together, and his team, and then all the actors.
He was building a story. Right. He was bringing this story together.
And at that time, aren't you looking at when did the Avengers movie come out? It was 2012, 2011? So you're looking at 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 different movies of world building just to get to that point. Whereas DC, that was one of the things that the common perception was they were pushing so fast to get to it. But
he had just come off of Age of Ultron in 2015.
Who, Joss had?
Yeah, which I loved Age of Ultron. Okay,
it wasn't my favorite, but it was good.
Right, but probably part of your main issue with Age of Ultron was probably the dialogue of Ultron. The Ultron dialogue was terrible in the movie, but overall, Age of Ultron was not a commercial. Did it bring in money to the studio? Yeah, it did. Of course it did. It's a Marvel movie. They're all going to, even if they are trash, Captain Marvel. But when you sit there,
shots
and
fired. Jeez.
I've got other thoughts on this, but that's for another episode. But he had just come off of Age of Ultron. He did one episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. He did the Avengers, but other than that, Dollhouse, 3 episodes, 2 episodes of The Office. He did Serenity, Angel, Buffy, Firefly, etc. But he was not this great panned director, and so he comes in, they bring him in, and he just ruins what should have been a phenomenal movie.
Yeah,
I'm still bitter about how bad that movie was.
Right.
For the record.
But so here we are. We're on the helm of, Zack, and the imminent release of, we're about a week and a half away from the release of this Zack Snyder's original vision for Justice League. I'm super pumped about it. I've been trying unsuccessfully so for the last almost a year, about 8 months or so that my wife and I have been married, that I've been trying to get her, ever since I heard about this Zack Snyder's Justice League, that was definitely going to happen. I've been trying to get her to sit down with me and watch all the movies leading up to it so that we can enjoy it together. I don't think it's going to happen. We did watch Man of Steel.
My wife
won't
either. My wife doesn't even like movies. I don't know what I'm married into.
I guess I should have known this whenever we got married, and I guess I probably did subconsciously. But it's one of those things. She doesn't like movies that are super intense. And that's the paragon of Zack Snyder's films. Everything that he makes is really gritty and just in your face and the whole time, and I love it.
Right.
I love it. I'm a bit of a metalhead when it comes to music. I love things to be, just popping and aggressive and going and everything, and it's just kind of like, that's just who I am. Unfortunately, my wife does not share that sentiment. So, but we're at this cusp of this being released. I'm super excited about it. But in tandem with that, we've got a solo Batman film that's supposed to be coming out.
Cannot wait.
And I agree with you there that it is shaping up through the rumors and through the teaser trailer they put out. It's shaping up to be in what could possibly be the Batman film to unseat Christopher Nolan's Batman as the best Batman film ever made. And I'm super excited about it. It comes out. Well, before we go too much further, let me say this. I'm so excited for this movie to come out that every time that I get news about it being delayed, it just really is upsetting. And so
that's how I feel about the new Bond movie.
Right.
So every time I hear about No Time to Die being delayed, I'm like, oh my gosh, please.
Right, and because of Corona, everything has already been delayed so long anyway. And then I just read an article. It's probably been about a week and a half ago that I read that was like, Batman movie delayed again. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because it was supposed to come out. The last delay had pushed it from, I don't remember. It was supposed to come out like late last year. And then the delay pushed it to early this year. And then they had another delay earlier, like in January or so, that pushed it back to, I think it was either like the late summer or early autumn was when it was going to be released this year. And I was super excited about it. And then next thing you know, they send out another thing that it says, due to fill in the blank, I don't even know at this point. They've moved the movie back, and it's not set to release until like March of 22.
Yeah. Which stinks. But, if that ensures a better film is made, I'm fine with that. I'm super excited because Robert Pattinson is an incredible actor.
Right.
Sure. He was in Twilight. I know he was. I get it.
Right.
All right. He was a glittery vampire. I understand the concern. The fact of the matter, if you ever watched a movie that's got him in there that's not called Twilight, go watch Tenet. Which
I was about to recommend the same.
Tenet's hard to watch. It confuses the tar out of me, but he's phenomenal. He's great.
It was a wonderful film.
So
I loved it.
The trailers, the trailers that have emo Robert Pattinson for the new Batman movie look just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced. My hot take is I'm not convinced that the in the trailer you see that face with duct tape on it.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced. So they're like, it's because the Riddler's the bad guy.
Yeah.
That may be, but I'm pretty certain that Hush is in this movie.
Hush.
And so if you don't know who Hush is, Hush was a character that what he would do is he would kill people and he would cut off part of their face, and he because he wanted to make a mask that resembled Bruce Wayne.
That's
dark character.
That is real dark.
Correct, but the duct tape. There's more to it, I think, than just this is the Riddler's person. I think that I don't know. I'm certain Hush is in this movie. So you heard it here first. I truly believe this.
# prediction time.
Which I'm excited about that. If you've ever played the Arkham games, I think Arkham Knight. I think no, it was Arkham Knight that had. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Arkham Knight that had Hush in it. There were like little side quests that you would go on, which those are really good games too. If you never played them, the Arkham games that Rocksteady did, those were amazing games as well. But I digress. I think that this will, at least from the year 2000 on, this will be at very worst the second best Batman film, right behind Dark Knight. It's a tall order to supplant the Dark Knight. All right,
That's
the Dark Knight is legitimately one of the 20 to 30 best films of all time. Even if you don't like superhero movies, I don't care what he says. It's a legitimate it's a legitimate best of all time movie.
Right. So if you scrape out all the stuff that is just the best movie because of its agenda, because of the things, the political opinions that it forwards.
But not only that, but you've got movies from the 30s and 40s. Like, this is just such a good movie. It's like, okay, maybe for my great grandpa, it's like one of the best of all time. Okay, ask anybody in their 40s what the best movies of all time are, unless it's some kind of like film major that I don't own a TV. They're not going to have half those films on their list. Okay,
right.
If you're talking about, it should be okay. The top 100 movies of the last 50 years. I'll let you go back to the 70s, okay? I'll let you go back to 1970. Yeah. But that's about as far as you should be able to go. Because, frankly, I'm not going to go watch a movie from 1964 because you said it was good, because your art teacher said it was a phenomenal movie and really spoke to her. I don't care.
I will say, in the world of film, I think that it's important to note that films made before a certain period were less art-driven.
Well, they're all being canceled anyway, so who cares?
And less agenda-driven, and they were more like nostalgia-driven, right? Most people who look back at films made pre-1960 or pre-1965-ish, films made before that, most of them are going to be films that people are going to look on fondly because they remember watching that as a kid. And It's not because it was a good movie; it was because it was part of their childhood.
Like a Christmas Story. It's a trash movie. It's a terrible movie. It's dumb. So is
but
Elf.
It's great.
Elf is bad also.
Okay, hold on. Let's not get on a rant here. Because I know you, and
it's a bad movie.
I know that you're just going to rail on one of my favorite films.
The first time you watch it, it's great. Elf, the third or fourth time, is not that funny. I'm sorry.
Well, here's the thing, though. Whenever you look back at it, for me, my personal experience is that there are films that are pre-1965, and some of them post-1965, that I have a huge personal admiration for. Not because they're well-made, but because they're part of my heritage. They're movies that I grew up on, that I love. Not because I'm old, but because my parents were old souls, and so am I. And so... I'm not that old. It's true. I'm younger than you, Austin, by at least a couple of years.
I hit 36 this past week. It was phenomenal. I fell down my in-laws stairs.
36.
36.
Wow, 3 years past the death of Jesus. Congratulations, my friend. That's huge. I turned 32 this year. My brother, I actually texted my brother the other day. This is off topic, but I texted my brother and I said, "Hey," he actually turned 33. I think it was last week. And I texted him and I said, "Hey, bro, happy crucifixion birthday."
I'm sure he appreciated that.
Yeah, he did. It was weird. Anyway, but here's the thing. If you take out everything that is nostalgia, everything that is political driven, because here's the thing that really irks me when it comes to what is commonly conceived as the best films of all time. Didn't need that many quotations, but it's fine. The films that society looks at and they're like, this is the best film ever made. They look at it and they're like, this is the best film because of what it does for humanity, because of what it touts, because of what it brings enlightenment to or about, because of the agenda that it forwards. Right. That's what critics and that's what the media would like us to believe is what makes a good movie. But I disagree on such a vehement level, because filmmaking was never meant to be this political, vehicle to get your opinions and make people believe what you want to believe. It was meant to be a storytelling technique. Mm-hmm. The same way that chronicling history was one of the earliest uses for writing and for story or whatever, but it was about telling the story. It wasn't about forwarding an agenda. It was about telling a story. And so, if you take out all the political agenda, if you take out all the nostalgia, and then you just kind of boil it down to what is great storytelling and what makes an exciting and energetic and well-made film, then there really can't be, there's going to be a pretty big difference between what we look at as the best films ever made versus what is listed on whatever list site or What Culture puts out, or Watch Mojo puts out 10 best movies of all time, that kind of stuff. Like, what we believe and what they put out there are going to be completely contrasted because we're looking at it from strictly an artistic perspective rather than just and good storytelling rather than just a, political agenda or whatever the case may be. So, but I'm super pumped for this film. I'm excited to see, like you, I was excited for Matt Reeves to be announced as director. His work on the Planet of the Apes trilogy was phenomenal. That third Planet of the Apes, what was it? War for the Planet of the Apes, is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Oh my goodness, that movie is just a masterclass in filmmaking.
Right.
It beautifully shot and arranged, but the storytelling, the pacing, it was just incredible. And so I was excited to see him announced as the director just because of the fact that I believe that he's got what it takes to make a singularly great film. Whether they ever make a sequel to it or not, that's one of the things that really gets on my nerves. I wish they would stop focusing on universe and just start making great films again.
Right. Standalone films again. I don't necessarily need a Justice League. I don't need all these tie-in films. But I want good Batman movies again. I want a good Superman film. I want a good, Wonder Woman 84 wasn't good.
I haven't seen it.
It's probably okay that it went to HBO Max originally because it wasn't very good.
I'm interested to see it because I really liked the first one.
Mm-hmm. I did too.
If this is a cheapened version or a cheapened recall or whatever,
it felt that way. It felt that way.
Well, I will say, when it comes to Warner Brothers, they have such incredible IP, intellectual property that it's sad that they can't really nail down the formula.
Right.
But at the same time, when the Marvel Cinematic Universe was just exploding and everybody's like, oh my gosh, everybody needs a universe. The Dark Universe was coming out, their Monsters Universe was coming out, the DCEU was coming out, and everything's like just happened around these universe building things. And that's a great storytelling method or vehicle or whatever. But, when it comes down to it, DC failed at that. I mean, there's no way around it. They failed hard at that. But I think they're now positioning themselves. They're doing a little bit of retrospective with the Zack Snyder Justice League, and I think that's a great way to kind of just bookend their universe work. But, I think that they've finally kind of come to terms with the fact that the universe really isn't the right way to go for them. And, making movies that are interconnected by a shared universe is not a bad idea, but not focusing on building that universe so much as focusing on making great standalone films. And that's what they did. Aquaman, like it or hate it, it was a well-made and it was a great movie by itself.
Right.
Wonder Woman, same thing. It was a great movie by itself. Shazam, it was a great movie by itself. And now we're positioned, Joker, another one that was just a phenomenally well-made movie, and it didn't have anything on the surface to do with any of the other DCEU movies, and, seeing it in that light and watching DC just kind of strip back from their, universe building methods, I think it's the right move for them. And if this Matt Reeves Batman film comes out and blows our minds like we both obviously expect it to, I think it'll be again a further confirmation that doing universes is kind of a way of the past. Marvel's basically got a handle on it, and they really can't step away from it in any way. I would be surprised, honestly, to see a Marvel vehicle that is not connected to the MCU at this point and it be successful.
Which makes me excited for next week's episode whenever we talk about, I've got thoughts on WandaVision. Thoughts I had, and I can't do it yet. I gotta wait till next week because I'm gonna wait.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, we are out of time for this week and out of time for my computer. So let's just cut it off right here, and let's just say we're excited about Batman. We're excited about the Justice League Zack Snyder version, and tune in next week because, whoa, I almost knocked my light off my desk just then. That was crazy. Anyway, tune in next week because we're going to have another episode, or next 2. I don't know how long we're going to be able to get. How long it's going to be because it's going to determine our schedules. Recording from the distance is difficult, but we're going to do our best to have another episode ready for you guys coming soon. We hope that you stick with us. Click the button to subscribe, to like, all that kind of stuff. And wherever it's somewhere over here. I don't know which side of the screen they're going to be looking at for me. I'm looking at it
I don't know.
2 different...
It's good to be back. We look forward. Well, I guess it's just me then. David's gone, and so we look forward to seeing you guys or having me back. I've ruined it. My brain, no work. Ouch.